Hey guys, what's up? It's Sam. Welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the tilt boost and why it's not just for Nashville session players. So not long ago, we came out with the Tilt Overdrive, which was a collaboration with Sean Tubbs and Dan Trudeau. This pedal had a lot of concepts that were Sean's ideas. Sean just has an unbelievable ear, and he's been in so many different settings and different situations where he just, thought of a practical set of features for this pedal. And the main thing that really struck me when I tried it, aside from the drive side, was the tilt boost. Essentially, the tilt refers to the EQ that's in the pedal. Depending on which way you go, you're either boosting or cutting your low end signal, which is a great way to tame, a cranked tube combo. Obviously, when you have an old tube amp and you crank it up, you're going to get this kind of woofiness to it. And Sean's initial idea was to have the tilt EQ in there to kind of be able to negate that and get a little bit more clarity when you're using that type of setting. Unbeknownst, I think at the time, this is like a perfect thing to use in a high gain setting. Like if you think back to people using like the Boss EQ pedal, where you're kind of just shelving the low end to bring out a lot of that clarity in the mid-range and get rid of some of the thumpiness. That's essentially what this does in a lot more efficient setting. It's just one knob. So yeah, we're going to take a look at that today because it kind of became known to us that this was something that high gain players actually were really interested in. And that led into doing the standalone tilt boost. The tilt boost obviously, has a lot of the same intent as the boost side of the Tilt Overdrive. It does have a drive switch, which is kind of the main feature that's different. And it also does have 6 dB more of boost. But it's a smaller format for people like high gain players who might just want the boost side and not necessarily the drive side of the pedal. So yeah, we're going to take a look. Right now I'm running into the Generator 120. We're going to be using the red channel today, which is a little bit saggier. So this is kind of a good way to demonstrate that, where the purple channel already is very high mid, very high mid present. And I know Derek's going to laugh at me, but I'm using the Slash Les Paul. And I think after the last live stream, I actually kind of learned to love this thing. Maybe I'm just getting older now. I don't know. But this thing just sounds massive. And although it is physically massive, and I don't know if I could play it all the time, I think this is a great way to demonstrate this just because this guitar has so much girth to it, as does the red channel. And the tilt boost is just a really good way to shape that for high gain tones. So this is the tone that we have going on right now. I've got the gain a little bit lower than noon. I like to run the gain fairly low and just kind of boost the highs and lows a bit, just because you still get a lot of attack from it, but you get a little bit more clarity, especially when you're going to be running a boost into the front of the amplifier. More gain doesn't necessarily mean heavier. I feel like if anything, the more you can hear the attack, the heavier it's going to be. So I'm a big fan of kind of running the gain lower and then boosting the depth, as well as using the bright and the cut switch to get a little more highs and mids there. So this is the tone we're working with. Which already, by all accounts, is a pretty tight sounding tone. But immediately when you turn on the tilt boost, like take a listen to this. So right away, it's just way tighter. There's way more presence, there's way more attack, but it's still quite clear. I'm not running the boost side of it too hot right now. I'm really just using it for the tilt EQ just to kind of thin out those boomy low end frequencies that might be getting a little muddy on you. So here's it without the tilt boost once again. And then on. Off. Right away, you can just hear the difference in the low end. And like it just, aside from, making the frequencies a little clearer, it really tightens up your pick attack as well, like for the quicker stuff, And then once again, on. So ton of benefits there, especially if you're going to use an extended range instrument. All right, so we have the Jackson DK7. This is one of my favorite guitars in the shop here. Big shout out to Terry Paulson for trading with us for this one. Dorian kind of got me into using the Evertune, but especially on a lower tune instrument, it's just super nice to have to keep everything nice and tight. But kind of digressing here, obviously when you're tuning lower, you're occupying more of that low frequency space. And that's when things can definitely start to get muddy. I remember my dad, before, my dad's a bassist, and before a lot of these lower tune bands were coming out, he's like, well, why would you tune that low? It's just going to sound like in the range that the bass is taking up. And although that's true, I think if you kind of shape those tones, they can cut in a different way. Even if they're playing in the same register as the bass, it's just a certain type of tonality. So this guitar, I believe, is in drop 8 flat. Yeah. So this is what we got on our own. We're running the same amp settings that we just were with the Les Paul. And then we're going to turn on the tilt boost here. Immediately, there's just so much more attack. There's so much more clarity in that lower register. So let's turn it off here, and right away you'll hear a difference in the pick attack. Once again, we're going to turn it on. And even when you're playing those big chords, this brings out so much more definition in every note, So, since I've got it on my board, especially for the lower tuning stuff, it just kind of stays on. And even if you're using it, not really for the boost, but just kind of for the tilt EQ side of things, you can just leave it on and it's not going to affect your levels too much. It just kind of brings out a little bit more of everything that you want to hear. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if you got any other things you want to hear on here. We're going to be doing a whole bunch more of these videos. Also, feel free to tune into Gear and Beer on Wednesdays if you have anything you want to ask us and we can show you there. We'll see you soon.